Hey, Ronnie Dale, fourwheelingwesternaustralia.com, and welcome to another Wednesday.
Actually, it's a Thursday, and this is the sequel to the RDW.11 video, so check that out.
This is the day before we we leave for the Ann-Bedell Highway. So right now, I'm at Malaga Suspension, getting my suspension sorted on my vehicle before we head off. There are so many issues with it, and they're all going to get fixed here. So we're going to run in a sec and just run through all the bits and pieces that we're actually going to replace on it. So I'm very grateful for Malaga Suspensions and Dobinson also, because they're donating all the parts for the vehicle and they're squeezing me in, fitting it all so I can actually get to this trip. Because the way my suspension is right now, which was discovered by PDP, how bad it was, they didn't do it, they got nothing to do with suspension, PDP. Just want to put that disclaimer in there. It was the first guy who touched my car. Since then it has been incorrect. I've tried correcting it by putting a few other things in, and we're about to go inside, and one of the boys here, Corey, is going to run us through and pretty much let me know all the issues on my vehicle. Most of them I already know about, but I'm sure there's a few other ones in there that have been a result of just poorly done suspension. So stay tuned. Alright, so we're inside the workshop now. Excuse the noise, it is a workshop, so that is expected. The vehicle's on the hoist now. All the old bits and pieces are being pulled out. And look, we'll go for a bit of a crash course through the vehicle, pick all the things that are wrong, all the things that are going to get changed. So all the bits that are going in are right here. So basically, the cruiser is going to have a bit of a birthday. Pretty much. That's all brand new, entire kit. With the parabolics, I've decided to pull these ones out. There's nothing wrong with them, they work great, but Dobinson happened to do one as well. So what I'm going to do is test these out, chuck them in, and then the whole kit is the same suspension. It's not bits and pieces, because that's the problem I'm kind of having at the moment, trying to fix things with just a couple of components. Now the front is where the main issue is. We'll walk through that pretty soon.
What you're going to see in this video is just a brief look at before and after shots of how bad the suspension is and how it got sorted out. For the full detail of how it got this bad from the beginning, the whole story, that needs to be in a complete separate video, and I will convey that to you when I'm not under pressure in a mad rush packing for a trip. At the end of this video, there is a message for you guys, so watch to the end and you'll be able to answer direct questions on suspension mods, but that will be at the end.
Alright guys, I'm with Corey here.
How you doing, guys?
Hi Corey.
Nice to meet you, mate. Thanks for coming in and letting us work on your beats.
Yeah, well thanks for taking the time to crash through all this as well and letting me in the workshop. Start with the springs. So what's the obvious problem with the springs here?
Basically the springs that are in it, the height that you're trying to achieve is not what sort of happened. Someone's put a spacer in it to get the correct height. Also, we sort of want about a 3-inch height in the front of these. We're thinking these are a 2 with a spacer. So basically, I'm not a big fan of spacers. I like to have the correct spring rate.
Yeah. So with a spacer, is it true that putting a spacer in can increase the chance of getting coil bind?
Definitely. Basically, it's just basically a band-aid for height, and you're basically putting a height on top of your spring, and basically it just works as a spacer and can put more preload tension on the spring.
Yeah.
And especially if you've got the wrong spring rate for the accessories, the rate's not doing its job, well then yes, definitely going to coil bind.
Yeah.
And also same thing with extended bump stops and stuff like that. If you're running like a light duty spring with a spacer and you have an extended bump stop, then you can definitely put the spring into bind, for sure.
You know the worst part?
What's that?
It's my car we're talking about.
But I'm sure it'll be a big improvement once we're done. So
yeah, I'm looking forward to that. You'll note I have a new drive shaft on the front, and that was due to the shocks being too long and forcing it to rub onto this sway bar here. Now you'll see here, this sway bar has been meeting it, and it's been rubbing like this, like that on there. There are now 2 sway bar link extensions, and the reason why there's 2 there, I mean it looks pretty bad doing it like this. We're actually going to replace it with a proper one, which Corey will tell us about in a sec, with the correct height. but that's put there by my mechanic just so to help me get here. He didn't want this new prop shaft he put in to get damaged, and just also a reminder, he did not do my suspension. Disclaimer, he did not do the suspension. Alright, so the correct height of...
Yeah, but basically we use something, the one we use is probably in between these sort of two heights. It's a catch-22. If you go too high with an extension on them, you also run into the issue of under flex that your radius arm can hit the sway bar and also bend these. So going too extended can cause issues, and not having the extension at all also can cause the bind that's been happening with the front prop shaft. Also the big part is being the shock's so long. Like this height we're sort of is measuring up to be around about a 2 to 3 inch height with the space, but it's probably running, you know, a 5 inch shock, which is quite overkill. The ABS lines and the brake lines, everything's sort of been unclipped and sort of hanging there just a sort of band-aid, so nothing sort of gets stretched at the moment, which we're going to take care of all that as well. So.
Yeah, we pull all that off so it wouldn't tear.
Correct, yeah.
Basically just to get the car here.
When you're running a shock that long, basically at ride height and under compression, you find your shocking stroke will be almost fully compressed, and basically you've got these shocks aren't internally bump stopped, which means that more chance of damaging the shock. So it's all about sort of having a happy medium. Obviously we want to do a kit that without spending copious amounts of money. Just
Alright, so we're talking about this rod here now.
Okay, so basically just a quick rundown on the rear track rod. It's basically the steering arm that goes in between your two stub axles here. Basically what people do is when the vehicle's raised, they run a caster correction bush, obviously to put the caster back into the car. So obviously when the vehicles are raised, they get what you call negative caster, and tends to make them feel light at speed steering.
So basically when you're raising it, you're sort of drooping down like that with the diff, and then that increases the length away.
So basically, they call them like a ball joint or kingpin inclination, and on these, it basically when you lift, it actually rotates the front diff, changing the ball joint, or what you call on these like a tool hub bearing kingpin inclination. Makes them almost like a shopping trolley run on the front of the wheels, and they basically feel quite light. So basically, putting these offset bushes brings the caster forward, and you know, in sort of the layman's terms, it sort of increases the wheelbase, makes the car feel stable at speed again. Look, at 2 to 3 inch, we sort of recommend a caster correction bush. Like I was saying earlier, we do sort of recommend doing an arm, like a Superflex arm.
So that's replacing the whole arm?
Replacing the whole radius arm. Just better way to do it, you get a lot of caster into them. There are caster plates and stuff you can do, but obviously the arms are quite expensive depending on your budget. And look, at 2 to 3 inches, no problem using a caster correction bush. This one's used basically a too large of an offset, which we steer away from. There's some photos earlier. Basically, the track rod's hard on the radius rod, on the radius arm. On it. Basically, apart from the annoying noise that you get, it's not technically dangerous, but I have had them before where the adjustment nuts do actually knot up with the radius arm on full lock, stops them from getting.
So these nuts hitting here.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Can sort of stop them, can knot them up, not getting full lock. Also, it's something that you wouldn't want to get caught there and not be able to steer the thing. So,
okay.
In my opinion, I don't use something that offset. If you need to use something with that large of an offset, you need to go for a different form of caster correction, like an arm or a caster plate or something like that.
So there you go. This is just the front end on a solid axle. Sway bar has been meeting it, and it's been rubbing like this, like that on there. Alright, so the boys are still working on the vehicle. They're doing the rear now. So I'll show you on the front all the bits that they've corrected and all the bits that they pointed out to me. Now some of them I knew about, but some other ones I had no idea about. Just come have a look. Locking the wheels behind me. Right, so the first thing that you all know about was this drive shaft here, the front drive shaft. That was crushed by this sway bar. You'll see on the image before how it had one smaller spacer on the actual sway bar. Now it's got the proper size, so it's keeping it away from the shaft. But there's another contributing factor that's helped this happen, because if we didn't change the shock, this would still be close to touching, and this is how I destroyed my shaft. Too much travel in the shock, not a big enough spacer here. This actually crushed the tube and stopped it from moving in and out. So now, you know, this cost me $1,000 to get a new one of these in. Over here, we have the incorrect caster bushes in. That's the bits that sit inside these front radius arms. They were incorrect. So as you can see here, there's rub marks. And that's actually rubbed away quite a bit. That's rubbed heaps off actually. And this was scratching on it, which you'll see on the screen. The other bit that we've corrected with the shocks and the caster bushes, oh, here's the old one. It's even crushed here as well. Just the whole thing was set up bad to a point where everything's working against each other and just where are we now? Oh yeah, the oil sump. There's a mark here, which I'll show in a sec. There's a mark right here where this sway bar was hitting my oil sump. My sway bar was hitting my oil sump. That's how bad it got. So that is why I've changed all the suspension. It got to a point where it was actually destroying my vehicle. Look, had my springs fallen out, which they could have done, the whole thing would have fallen apart on the track. I would probably put a punched a hole in the sump. It would have been a sitting duck. There's a, you know, quite an expensive vehicle stuck out in the bush. So all these things we've got corrected now. So that's why I've opted to go for a whole kit that just does the whole vehicle. Now on the back, these parabolics we're changing now, they are working fine. These are absolutely awesome. But they also have in this kit parabolics as well. So on the shopping trolley here, we have some parabolics. Hopefully these guys here don't get a call from Coles, give us our shopping trolley back. No, it's an old trolley, don't worry Coles. Anyway, so we are going to replace with new parabolics. These were second hand that I got off someone. Alright, the vehicle will be off the hoist soon. The boys had to put the snake racing extended shackles in anyway to get the extra height, because the front's actually lifted. So the front actually has a true height of 3 inches. Now the front will probably settle a bit, but it's probably only going to settle about 10 mil, and it's come up 25 mil as to where it originally was. So we've got the snake racing shackles back in, which I have for my second hand parabolic kit. Parabolics are in. Alright, on the drive now to PDP to get some more software put into the new power thing I've got, which will be revealed later on while I'm away. Look, I'm going to have to try and edit this video tonight so you guys can see it while I'm away, because there's been a lot of questions on social media, because I posted this on Facebook and Instagram. But I'm now in the vehicle. I have got the X1 on the back. So in terms of first impressions of driving with this new suspension, I wasn't expecting to feel much difference, to be honest, on the road. It's the off-road I'm expecting to feel a lot of difference. But I got to say, I am actually feeling a difference on road. I did go for a quick burn around the block just after the car got off the hoist, just to, you know, go for a bit of a test run. I did deliberately hit a curb, you know, not at a hard pace, but a reasonable pace, and honestly, I felt a lot less than what I normally would. So that's a good sign to start with. I've gained 20 mil in height on the back and the front, and with the camper trailer on the back, look, it's not a heavy camper trailer, but it's not drooping the vehicle, which is the main thing. So far all is good. Now, question,
I spoke to the boys at Malaga Suspension and they're keen to do like a suspension 101 video, a bit like the mechanic questions I did. So if you guys have some questions about suspension, get them in, put them down below in the comments, and we'll do a 101 suspension video. What do you reckon about that, guys? So get that in. I'm going to make a turn soon. Oh, note the remember tensioning U-bolts after 500 kilometers. That is something I'm going to have to do at the start of the trip. Oh, changing gears. Alright guys, subscribe somewhere on the screen, and thanks for watching. Get your questions in. See ya.